Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey as we have gone through every single episode of Resident Alien Season 2. I didn't see a lot of other people really talking about it online, and I really liked the first season, so I was like, yeah, I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy to talk about this show. Maybe if in Season 3, the people at Sci-Fi are looking for a after show host and you want someone particular to come on and talk about your show, talk to some of the actors, have a good time, I'm open to do it. So, Sci-Fi, if you want somebody to come on, talk about your show, or hell, just have me do anything related to Resident Alien, I'll do it because it's a good finale. Low scale, which I think the show kind of needed. They went all out last week, The penultimate episode, something I've always said is your penultimate episode should be the money one. Because then it doesn't feel like we're forcing ourselves to a conclusion or like rushing an ending. And that's what this was. We did all the big stuff last week. Now it's just kind of taking a moment to figure out where we're going next. So this episode kind of has a gimmick. In last week, Liv was talking to Peter kind of about like the documentary he was working on based on alien encounters with these people. So there's kind of like the When Harry Met Sally thing where we cut like from every ad break, we come back or we go before the ad break talking to people about their encounter. It opens up with Mike Richardson. And if I understand if some people maybe don't know Mike Richardson, but he's a big deal at Dark Horse. And I'm like, oh, that is something you got to do before Kevin Feige did. And I'm like, okay. So here's what I'm thinking. This is a small play by Mike Richardson to be like, I am going to become a Dark Horse person now. Now, I mean that in terms of like, oh, he's going to be what Kevin Feige is for Marvel. He's going to be the guy who's going to maybe get more Dark Horse stuff. And I'm just getting that from like a surprise funny cameo. But maybe, just maybe, he'll actually be pushing the way and being like, more Dark Horse stuff is on the way. I would personally love to see it. A lot of cool stuff in that world that they could play with. Maybe we'll talk about it a different day. So that's a fun gimmick they had. And then a lot of interesting stuff that just kind of happened in this episode. Again, it's not a lot of crazy stuff. There's a simple story. Harry is kind of like accosted again by one of the gray men. This one is Joseph. He worked for Linda Hamilton. And the idea is, look, we're taking over the world. We made a deal with your people. We don't really care about you or anything associated with you. You and your little baby, you could get on your plane, hop up into space, and get it over with. Like, we don't really care. We're still going to take over the world. So Harry's like, okay, I guess that means it's time for my goodbye tour. And that's kind of the episode. The main thing about this episode in particular, I think is important to say, and I don't really know how, like, you get into this part when I'm doing the review. There is so many bits. Like, they do an entire bit about like how the guy would get Harry's phone number. They do an entire bit with Darcy thinking there's a dinosaur. They do an entire bit about like space titties. And I'm like, there's so many good bits in here that I could just sit and talk about, because this show is a comedy. When it plays into the comedy, that is when you really feel the connection. When you have these comedic and funny actors doing stuff, that's when it really works. And, like, half the episode is that. The other half is like, yeah, it's the apology tour. Here's the ending. Here's the wrap-up for the next season. The rest of it, funny joke. That's it. I'm like, okay. Pretty quick. So Harry is doing a goodbye tour. Now, what I found very fascinating is the stuff I've been kind of talking about this season I really love is with Max and Harry. Well, Max and Sahar both get one scene in this episode. And something that I've noticed particularly in this season more than the last season is that Max and Sahar, those two young actors, they are not as present. And again, I'm thinking it's like some child labor thing. Maybe they don't want to work the hours. I don't know what the thing is. COVID maybe was like, let's not have these children on set. I just think like your last episode, scene with each of them, it's a good scene where Harry draws Max a picture and it's just like a stick figure. And he's like, well, don't body shame me like that. Again, a good bit. I like that. I also like the bit where Harry's trying to name his baby and Zahar's like, you have to find the bridge between the two worlds. So he names the baby Bridget. I'm like, that is good. That's funny. That's what we should be playing with in this show. This was Alan Tudyk getting the opportunity just to shine again. And I say that all the time. Him and Corey Reynolds are just crushing it. Just these funny comedic forces doing some great stuff. But this is just his, like, let me show you why I have been in this industry for so long. Let me show you the talented Mr. Tudyk that I am. and he is fantastic. In every single scene, he is spinning gold. And it's great to see that. So there is like, he does think, okay, I'm going to go up, I'm going to be going, it's fine. But then a hubris thing kicks in where he's like, no, because Goliath said, I need to spare Linda Hamilton, that means we're good. So the world, because I killed her in the other timeline, the world should be okay now. So he doesn't kill her. He's also like, well, if the Greys are still coming, I could probably fight them. So he does not get on the spaceship to go back to his own planet, but he sends Bridget on the spaceship, and he instantly starts crying because he's like, that was my kid. I'm too human. I love my kid. Why did I do that to my kid? And I'm like, that's fun. That's a good joke because it kind of echoes the Jay and Asta stuff. And I have been very mixed on that whole storyline. It feels like that's what they want to focus on of Asta without actually focusing on it too much. In this episode, it's a small moment. It's like Jay makes the initial move. Asta comes to her side. They have a good moment as two women who can communicate how they are. And I'm like, that's cool. I like seeing that. Asta does not get a lot of play in this episode, which is surprising. I guess it's because like the focus kind of shift on to Liv for most of it. She gets her own When Harry Met Sally moment talking about it. That's really fun. Really cool to see that. And then she's kind of like, well, Peter's dead. She finds out Peter's dead. She finds his van and she's like, well, this is suspicious. This shouldn't be here. Something is afoot. And now Mike is actually starting to listen to her. So I'm assuming we're going to have a couple of interesting stories pick up with those two maybe getting on the trail of Harry. And now Darcy's going to have to cover for it because guess what? Darcy learns the truth now. She finds the medicine used to kill Sam, accuses Asta, and Harry's like, whoa, it's just me. And she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Not a human reaction to seeing a giant alien, but the fact that it's played off as a joke, she's like, I don't care about that. You didn't lie to me. We're good. And they just tell her the truth. I'm like, okay, I can buy that. It is kind of dumb that there's literally no reaction. I think like just having like one moment where she freaks out and then snaps back like, okay, now it's out of my system. Now we can move on. But it's a good, like it plays off fun. I have no criticisms about that really. I think it worked okay. So Darcy's part of the crew now. How is she going to solve anything? Interesting stuff. And the more I'm just sitting here talking about it, I'm like, there was actually a lot to discuss in this episode because there's the whole weird like bit where Harry adopts like Robert, who is Peter's son. He adopts the alien tracker's son. He's like, I'm 28 years old. You cannot adopt me. I am not your son. But he gives him the orb to protect him, even though he's like, well, you got to leave the nest sometime. It's a good bit. I thought it was going to be like, oh, this guy is going to become a love interest next season. No, I think it's going to be Joseph because, you know, Mike says we need more policing around here. The best they can do is this Tom Welling Diet Coke guy. Like, it looks like Tom Welling a couple years back and just like the diet version of him, if that makes sense. So cool. We have a Gray who is now a sheriff, and we have Harry who is the doctor. That is fantastic. I thought there was going to be like the reveal that somebody was just going to show up as like an Alpha Draconian, and we'd have like the 3 alien species doing something, but this is fine too. I like it because it works. It's working pretty well. A lot of stuff revealed there, but they finally confirmed something that I still think it was kind of like rushed in like the last episode where it's like, hey, Ben is currently sleepwalking. What triggered it? Well, he does it again twice in this episode. And I'm like, you introduced it last week showing that this connection was related potentially to the stuff happening with Peter. So the end teaser of this episode that's going to lead us into the next one. We have a couple, of course, you know, Joseph's going to be one of the new deputies. We see that Linda Hamilton and Harry team up. They're going to some weird freaky basement where all their wishes are going to come true. Everybody else is getting along pretty good. The teaser I liked. Robert sitting on a bench, gets picked up by the aliens again, starts getting probed weirdly, but that's not all that's going on. One, we get a prosthetic gray arm that looked really good. I was more uncomfortable by that prosthetic arm, the long, skinny fingers, than anything else in this show. But we see right next to Robert is Ben. Because you had to do it. You had to do it. That needed to be something that happened. But guess what? They also have Kate's baby. I'm like, whoa, okay. That's just like Peter when his wife had the child and the child was gone when they were abducted. We see the fetus in an incubator, and I'm like, oh man, that's almost towing a line, I think. It was just a little too much, but okay. And I knew you had to do something with Ben. Everybody else is kind of semi-connected now, because Mike's working with Liv and she has her alien thing. Kate and Ben were like the last two not really connected to any of the alien stuff. But now Ben's got his own thing going on. I wonder if they're going to do like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers thing next season where Ben's going to start acting different. I still think the resort is connected to the Greys. There's something in that town keeping them there. I think there's going to be something happening. But it's a good teaser. That weird baby in the weird incubator was creepy. And I'm like, whoa, you really know how to push it sometimes, Like, I know sci-fi isn't like network television, but seeing like a weird fetus in a jar and somebody says titties is like still off-putting to me because I'm like, this is just on ABC or something, but it's not, and it's kind of cool. This was a great finale. It was quiet. Everybody had at least one moment. Not big moments. There was no like big moments except Harry learning he's going to be the savior of humanity because he misses his kid and he's like, I gotta save them. Look how they all care about each other. That's the lesson I learned. That's kind of nice. Everybody else gets their nice moments, and I think it's going to be leading to some bigger stuff coming up. Now I don't know how the numbers are, but I could imagine like a budget increase come next season. I don't think it would get smaller. I think if this show has managed to stay on for 2 seasons, that's a good sign. I just dug it. This episode was really strong. This finale was really impactful. And the prosthetics remain awesome. Everything about this show has worked well. That's impressive. The fact that I can say that, it's really cool. And again, sci-fi. I am here to talk about this show endlessly. So, hire me. I'm kidding. But am I? Good question. This show. I like it. Resident Alien. It's been really fantastic. If you're still not watching it, I don't know why you're watching these reviews, but it's worth the watch. It has the right elements of X-Files meets Alf. I don't know why, but that ending shot with Harry sitting in the kitchen with the agents after him with their flashlights, very Alf finale. I like that. So that's going to do it for this review. Now, am I going to be back next year to talk about the show? Well, that would depend on when this show is released. If I am still doing this stuff when the 3rd season, I should say, is released, you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be back to talk Resident Alien. But until then, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.